For 7 long years, Leo was the ghost of Northwood High. He transferred in during middle school, a quiet boy with eyes that seemed to hold the weight of the world, and he never really arrived. He'd sit in the back of the classroom, head down, speaking only when a teacher forced him to. And even then, his voice was barely a whisper. This silence made him a target. It wasn't just one person. It was a collective, unspoken agreement among the popular kids. They saw his quietness, not his shyness, but his weakness. A void they felt compelled to fill with their own noise. The ringleader was a guy named Mark, the school's star quarterback, handsome, charming to the teachers, but cruel when their backs were turned. His go-to move was the friendly shoulder shove in the hallway that sent Leo's books flying. Then there was Chloe, who would loudly ask questions in class like, "Can someone please check if Leo is still breathing back there?" eliciting a wave of cruel giggles. Day after day, year after year, the taunts, the pranks, the social isolation, it was relentless. Leo never fought back. He never told the teacher. He just endured. He'd pick up his scattered books, his face a mask of indifference, and walk away leaving them feeling powerful and him invisible. We all saw it. Some of us felt a pang of guilt, a flicker of empathy, but we did nothing. We were bystanders, caught in the gravitational pull of high school's brutal social hierarchy. Speaking up for Leo meant becoming the next Leo, and no one was brave enough for that. So we watched, and by watching, we participated. We let it happen. We convinced ourselves it wasn't that bad, that Leo was just overly sensitive. Or maybe he preferred being alone. We told ourselves lies to sleep better at night. Graduation day arrived, a day of celebration, of looking forward to bright futures. The air in the auditorium was thick with excitement and nostalgia. Speeches were made, awards were given, and names were called. Mark got a full-ride athletic scholarship. Chloe was named valedictorian. It felt like the world was rewarding the very people who made our school a living nightmare for one of our own. Then, it was time for the student-elected speech. The principal walked to the podium and announced the name, a name that sent a ripple of shock and confusion through the entire student body. And now, please welcome to the stage, Leo. A stunned silence fell over the auditorium. Heads turned, whispers erupted. Leo? The silent kid. There had to be a mistake. We all thought it was some kind of elaborate prank. But then, from the back row, Leo stood up. He walked towards the stage, his steps slow and deliberate. He wasn't the same boy who shuffled through the hallways. He stood taller, his shoulders back. When he reached the podium, he didn't look down. He looked out at all of us, his gaze sweeping across the rows of familiar, and now very nervous, faces. He adjusted the microphone, and the slight feedback sound echoed in the dead silent room. Then he spoke, and his voice wasn't a whisper. It was clear, steady, and filled with a resonance that no one had ever heard before. "Good morning, fellow graduates, faculty, and families," he began. "For 7 years, I've been a student here, and for 7 years, most of you have known me as the quiet kid, the one who never talks." He paused, letting the words hang in the air. "You're probably wondering why I'm up here. You might be thinking this is a joke. It's not. There's a reason I was quiet," Leo continued, his eyes finding Mark in the front row. "There's a reason I never looked anyone in the eye. It wasn't because I was shy, or arrogant, or weird. It was a promise." He took a deep breath. 7 years ago, just before I transferred to this school, my family was in a terrible car accident. A drunk driver ran a red light. I was in the back seat. My parents, they didn't make it. A collective gasp swept through the room. The celebratory mood vanished, replaced by a heavy, suffocating shock. My own heart dropped into my stomach. The years of taunts and jokes suddenly felt monstrous. But my little sister, Maya, she survived. Leo's voice cracked for the first time, a fissure in his calm exterior. She was only 6. The accident, it damaged her vocal cords. She couldn't speak. The doctor said it was a miracle she was alive. But the trauma, the injury, it stole her voice. He looked directly at us, at everyone. I made a promise to her in that hospital room. I told her that I wouldn't speak either, that I would be silent with her. so she would never feel alone in her quiet world. I promised I'd stay silent until the day she spoke again. The weight of his confession crushed us. Every friendly shove, every mocking question. Every time we ignored him, it wasn't just an attack on a quiet kid. It was an attack on a brother's solemn vow, on a promise born from unimaginable tragedy. Chloe, the valedictorian, had tears streaming down her face. Mark looked pale, his quarterback swagger completely gone, replaced by a look of pure horror and shame. He couldn't meet Leo's eyes. He just stared at the floor, as if he could will it to swallow him whole. For 7 years, Leo said, his voice regaining its strength. I've carried her silence with me. Your jokes, your bullying. It was hard. There were days I wanted to scream, but then I'd go home, and I'd see my sisters struggling just to communicate, and I'd remember my promise. My pain was nothing compared to hers. 2 weeks ago, Leo's face broke into a small, fragile smile. After years of therapy, of fighting, of never giving up, Maya said her first word since the accident. She looked at me, and she said my name, Leo. The auditorium was completely still, but you could feel the emotional dam break. Students and parents were openly crying. Teachers were wiping their eyes. The 7 years of cruelty and indifference were replaying in everyone's minds, now cast in the horrifying light of the truth. Her voice is still weak, Leo said. But it's there. She's talking again. And so, my promise is fulfilled. Today, I can speak again too. And I wanted my first words at this school, my real words, to be these. He looked around, not with anger, but with a profound sadness. You never know what someone else is going through. The person you mock, the person you ignore. They might be fighting a battle you can't even imagine. Your words have power. Your actions have consequences. You chose to use yours to cause pain. I hope, from this day forward, you choose to use them to heal. He didn't say anything else. He simply stepped back from the podium and walked off the stage. No one clapped at first. The silence was absolute, a heavy blanket of collective shame. Then, one person started to clap. Then another, and another. Soon, the entire auditorium was on its feet, giving Leo a standing ovation. It wasn't an ovation for a great speech. It was an apology. A desperate, heartfelt apology from hundreds of people who finally understood the depth of their failure. Mark didn't stand. He just sat there, his head in his hands, shaking. Leo didn't stay to receive his diploma. He had already left. He didn't need our applause or our forgiveness. He had kept his promise. He had honored his sister. His journey at Northwood was over. But for the rest of us, the class of that year, our education had just begun. Leo's final lesson was one that wasn't in any textbook. It was a lesson in empathy, in compassion, and in the devastating costs of silence, both his and ours. We all walked out of that auditorium changed, carrying the weight of his story with us, a permanent reminder of the boy we thought we knew, and the silent promise he so bravely kept. Thanks for watching. If you found this story moving, please like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. We'll see you in the next video.